time pointer coming into 20 yards.
I just fucking smoked him. I just fucking smoked him.
Welcome back to the Borderland Pursuits podcast, episode 9. We got a fun one today. We're going to be talking some turkeys with Kyler Krob. How's it going, man?
Pretty good. How about you boys?
Good.
Doing good.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, we're
of course.
excited to have you on.
Yeah.
Talking turkeys. We're pretty novice turkey hunters, so you're the man to learn some stuff
I could
from.
talk all day about turkeys. Yeah, and I'm
Perfect.
sure. Yeah, you've heard me talk just your ear off about turkeys. And,
Oh yeah, once you get going, you're going.
yeah, stories and little tips and tricks and stuff.
How many years have you been turkey hunting?
Oh, my earliest, what really got me hooked was when I was young, probably 6 or 7 or so. I went out with my grandfather, and I vividly remember that day. And we went out and, early off the roost, and you're a little kid, you're all tired in the morning and everything. And I remember hearing the turkey gobble, and I was like, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And get out, and it's real foggy morning, and we're walking down this trail, and there's a row of pines to our left, and it's kind of like shrubbery to our right and everything. Walking path is maybe like a little ATV trail, and we're walking down the foggy trail, and I'm like, what is that, like a bush in the middle of the and my grandfather grabbed me, threw me next to the closest tree. He's like, get down, because that's the tom. He flew down from the roost. I was like, okay, whatever. And he starts, yelping, and he's gobbling his head off. And I'm like, okay, this, you kind of get like that little buck fever, like the little shaking and everything, and then slowly I could hear, you can hear him if you've ever heard a tom spitting and drumming, you're like, boom, and
Yeah.
you hear him coming in, and he came, like 4 yards from me.
Holy
Just
smokes.
like walking right in front of me. And then as he was right in front of me, then a tom crested over this little like berm on the other side of the trail. And they both were just like sitting there strutting like right in front of me, like almost like me to you away.
Oh wow.
And I'm just like a little kid, and I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. And then like from that moment, I was like, turkey hunting, that was awesome. And
Yeah.
and it's just kind of spiraled from there. And you want to like perfect like the craft and everything. So man, every spring I'm just out there just grinding, like like 3-4 weeks, all the time, getting up, even going down to Danbury, waking up at 3:30 in the morning, driving down to Danbury, and especially when you get those zone 4 tags and
Yeah.
hunting down there.
That's fun.
Was that your first hunting experience in total, or was it just turkey hunting?
No, so when I was young, so my grandfather, he kind of, I spent a lot of my summers and a lot of my time out at my grandparents' house out in Wascott. And so I have pictures of me not even be able to walk, and him bringing me out to this beaver pond because he traps a ton, and just setting me on like a beaver house, and then
That's
so we
cool.
would, so we, and then pictures of me with like beaver and stuff like bigger than me. And then, I'd, go out and sit in a deer stand with them and everything, and or like a blind, and but yeah, turkey hunting always just stuck with me as like that exhilarating type thing, because they communicate back to you,
Yeah.
which has everybody hooked.
Mm-hmm.
When they go turkey, they're like, that's pretty sweet. And I love seeing the faces of people when you take them out. Like I've taken buddies out, and the first time they've heard a turkey gobble out in the woods, you hear it on TV or something, and or like animations and stuff like gobbling and everything. But then when you hear like the actual thunder of like a turkey like gobbling through the pines, or like if it hollow, like in a hollow, they're like, oh, that was sweet.
Have you been elk hunting at all?
I haven't, and it's like a poor man's elk hunting. I heard,
I was gonna say it's kind of the same experience I had with elk hunting. Just you hear that first bugle back to you, and you're like, "Fuck, I'm hooked now."
Yeah. That was the way it was for me last fall for my first trip. I heard that and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is this is sweet.
Yeah, I've always wanted to make my way out west. It's so hard to get a tag out in like Montana and stuff, but
Yeah.
that's definitely on my like bucket list, is to especially get one with archery.
Yeah.
That's pretty tough, but
Yeah.
that's, you want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hell yeah. Well, I gotta ask, did you guys get a tom then on that first trip?
Well, that one was, so we went out just calling.
Oh.
The first one I can really remember was probably my first turkey. Um, I had to get back. It was like fifth or sixth grade or something, I think it was. And it was the first year you can do the youth hunt, which is like 10, I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
I think it's 10. And yeah, we grinded for like 6 days. I was down there, and it was down in like Trigo.
Mm.
And I just remember, the hen coming first, and then the tom right behind it. Once you get the hen coming, then the tom's gonna be following. Just like any other thing. Doe comes, and then the buck comes right. So the tom just came right after, and that was probably the first one I remember actually killing.
Okay.
But yeah, and then just from then on, especially when I started to drive and everything, just going anywhere. When I was 16, I made my way out to Wausau, like Black River Falls.
You put some miles on.
Oh yeah, and it's so much fun, like hunting new terrain and everything. We'll rent out like an Airbnb, like me and a couple buddies. We'd rent out an Airbnb and just stay there and turkey hunt for like a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
So what goes into like your scouting of an area? Like when you say you're driving this long distances to these places, do you spend time like on Onyx or maps, like picking spots? And
yeah, Onyx is definitely probably the biggest helper for sure. I've killed birds just from probably finding spots on Onyx. You're looking at it and you're like, I bet you nobody's going back there.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at like the terrain and you're like, well, you got pines over here, which, typically is probably, like their favorite roosting habitat is the pines. And then, it's nice and open underneath those pines so they can, strut around and do their little thing. But yeah, I'll look at the terrain on Onyx and stuff and seeing if there's like creeks and everything. Early season, it's kind of, you're going towards these pines and kind of like hardwood areas, because they're kind of gathering their flock of hens and everything. And, those hens are kind of, they're going to their higher altitude areas because the toms like to be, higher up so they can get that gobble out, big wide range. So they actually like kind of head to those higher elevation areas so they can gobble. And then later in the season, I actually change up my tactics a lot. I'll head towards like areas, where I'll see like tall trees or tall pines, but it's close to like a water area, or even just like a grassy area. That's like a maybe like a tall field or something, because these hens, when they nest, they need to be around, they like that cover of like the tall shrubs and stuff, so they can kind of hide and everything for, the predators.
yeah.
But yeah, so I'll change my tactics around a little bit that way. Especially like, along rivers and stuff. But yeah, early season, it's a lot of like just kind of seeing toms, especially when you're out driving around, and doing, like partridge hunt or like partridge hunting or something like that, or even deer hunting, like that year. Like when I'm gun hunting, I'm walking through the woods and I'm also looking for turkey tracks or scratchings. I'm going through the woods and like going along and through like pines or something, or short pines. It's like, oh, there's a lot of turkey tracks on here. Keep that in mind.
As I was curious on like if you hunt fall turkeys and like you're doing more scouting for spring, more or less.
No. So I don't hunt a lot of fall turkeys at all. It's different. It's completely different. You can get them to interact a little bit, like a gobble here and there.
They're just not as vocal.
They don't gobble really. Okay. You'll get them to shock gobble and stuff, but they won't really like come to you. If you can, like, you can call to the boss hen and everything, and she'll gather like the flock and everything and kind of come to you. But no, I don't really hunt in the fall too much. Springtime is kind of when I do my grind of, here and over there, and for weeks and weeks at a time.
What's a shot gobble?
A shot gobble. So that's like when you've ever heard like people using a crow call, or like an owl call. Like crow call, I love using kind of like mid morning or so. Just something really loud. I've also used like a peacock, like a really loud peacock call. I've seen people use like a car horn, literally just like honk your car horn and gobble gobble, because they
Just sets them off.
yeah, it's just something, I don't know, they just kind of react to, like I want to be the loudest thing in the woods right now. Is kind of what their mindset is. So like a especially like hoot owl in the, like a bar, like hooting,
Yeah.
they always gobble, the owls, or like in the morning, like when like the geese.
So
like
that they
geese
try to
flying
be like the dominant top.
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, they want to be the loudest thing in the woods. And so in the morning I'll use an owl call. And then midday, mid morning I'll start using the crow call. But yeah, I'll just use that typically like later in the season. I'll use a lot of crow call stuff because they aren't super reactive like later in the season because they're so henned up in that later season that sometimes the only way you can get them to gobble in that later season is actually using like a crow call and then kind of going off of that and then calling and just kind of waiting for him to come to you because so early season and late season are completely different. Like early season, they'll gobble to be super reactive to because, they're gathering their flock and everything, gathering all their hens. And so you can get them to come and, like play that little game of like cat and mouse and everything. But late season, I get a lot of birds by just kind of almost being, doing less is more, because you're yelping and he knows you're there and he's not going to gobble because so kind of piggybacking off of that with my train of thought here. So later in the season, these toms have all these hens, like they have their flock. And so early in the morning, it's really hard to get them off the roost because they're with those hens. Those hens have a set routine and they're going to do their own thing. And so this tom is just going to follow them, And so you'll always hear people like, God, I just couldn't get them away from the hen, And so I have killed a lot of birds mid-morning, like that 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, noon time frame, because that tom, he's strutting around with the hens, he breeds them, and then those hens go off to lay on their nest. And they lay an egg every day during the season, 12 to 14 eggs. And,
It's a lot of eggs.
Yeah, it's a lot of eggs.
Wow.
That's why you see so many poults running around, in the summer. And they
keep the same nest the whole season?
Yeah, they'll keep the same nest the whole season. And so what they'll do is they'll travel off to their nest, and then that hen will be gone for hours at a time. And then it just leaves the tom just like, now what do I do? Because all my hens are gone.
Does he go try to find other girlfriends?
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's when I you capitalize on that situation because then he's like, oh, what's Henny Penny doing back already?
Yeah.
You yelp, and then maybe he'll gobble once, and then it's like, wait,
Okay.
And so then, yeah, I've killed a lot of birds that way, and they'll just kind of come sneaking in and stuff. And the hunters that don't realize that, because they want to, they want that reactive response.
Yeah.
And so they're sitting there calling, and every time you're calling, that tom is just zeroing in on your location. And so he's, like, what's going on over there, And then he can see, like maybe your hand move or something.
Because they can see super well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And they'll just pick you out, just like the smallest little thing, like maybe you're a little darker than the tree behind you or something like that,
Yeah.
And so, boom, they're gone. And it's like, oh, I got busted, And then, but yeah, that's what I'll do is I'll just kind of call like every once in a while, and then just sit there for like 5-10 minutes.
So that crow owl call, is that more of a locator? Like,
For
I
sure.
don't know if there's anything around. I haven't heard anything. I'm just going to let one rip, see if anything happens.
Yeah, if like I know that a tom might be, like in the ravine over or something, I'll let out a crow call and like just give her hell. And then if he, and then I'll get him to gobble, and it's like, okay, now I know what to do looking at the terrain and stuff. Then I can set up, uphill, because toms generally like to go uphill. They don't really like going downhill.
Okay.
So if you set up above them, they'll come. They're more prone to come to you that way
By going uphill.
By going uphill.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're so lazy. They'll like, you know, they'll go down trails and stuff, and they'll find like the easiest path to walk and stuff most of the time.
Yeah.
You get your exceptions every once in a while. You're like, what was that? Like,
Yeah.
why are they walking through that?
What are they doing?
Yeah, exactly. But
How does your tactics play in when you're deciding to either gobble the drum in, to chirp, or whatever you're trying to do in between all that? Like, is it certain times of day or time of season?
yeah, I kind of just go off of what that tom is giving me. Like if I'm yelping, I'm doing my cadence, like a cadence or like cackling and stuff. Like, is he gobbling at the cackles? Is he gobbling at the yelps? Like when they're more fired up, they're gonna be gobbling at all the yelps, like anything you throw at them. You hear people like, oh, everything I was throwing at this tom, he was just gobbling his ass off. But he wasn't coming.
So you could change it up on the same tom coming up. It's not going to spook him off if you throw a gobble or chirp or whatever.
If you
Just
throw a
keep
gobble at
changing
him,
it.
that's different.
Okay.
So if you throw a gobble at him, then it's like, if it's a tom, that's kind of a fine line with turkey hunting, because like if you throw a gobble, if that tom's gotten his ass kicked before, he's like,
I'm not doing that again.
I ain't going over there.
Okay.
Like, she's already got a tom, and it might be Jim from down the block, that already kicked my ass.
Yeah.
So,
Do they get pretty into it then, beating each other up when they're battling for birds?
yeah. So like, early season and stuff, they will be like that. I actually bought a shoot and scoot. If you ever seen one of those, where it's a strutting tom, and you have your gun like underneath.
For reaping, right? That's what they call it, turkey reaping.
Yeah. So you can kind of like crawl and everything, or like kind of like scoot behind it.
Yeah.
And then once you get close, and you just like pop up, and you're like, surprise. But like I've tried using it in later season. Doesn't work. They don't really care.
Huh.
They're like, already got our hens, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to really play off of what the tom's kind of giving you. A tactic that I love to use, and I've been really successful with, is you'll hear people talk about, like, I had this tom hung up at 70 yards, 80 yards, and you're sitting there yelping, and he's gobbling his ass off, anything you throw at him, and you're like, well, why isn't he coming any closer? And what he's doing, he's a smart bird to where he knows, like, I came this far. You got to come.
Now you're coming to me.
You got to come that extra 50 yards so I can see you, And so then what I do is usually I'm calling, and I'll set my buddy up like 20, 30 yards ahead of me. And I'll start working my way back. And I've killed a lot of mature gobblers that way, by just like making them seem like, F you, I'm going this way.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, what the, So then he keeps that same distance the whole way, and then you just kind of wait for a gunshot.
So if you're tag teaming with your buddy, getting out there, you can really work them differently.
Yeah. Most of the time I am calling for people.
Okay.
And so that's usually one of my main tactics for sure, is just like, because you always get these toms they're always hung up. They always come like 100 yards from you, and you're like, God, not this again.
Yeah.
And then I'll just kind of be sitting next to the tree, and then I'll just kind of roll off, and I'll start army crawling, and I'll call into the ground, make it seem like I'm further away. And then he'll start gobbling. He's like, what the hell, And then you get further away. I got a bird last year like that for one of my buddies, but it was actually pretty funny because I was back here. I set him up right here, and the bird was over here, and so I kept doing, and he kept circling.
Oh, wow.
My buddy. We made like 2 laps around my buddy, and I'm like, I can't get this bird. He just kept following me that way, but if I stayed there, he would just stay right here.
Oh man.
And so eventually, like, I was running back, like beneath a hill, and then like getting down there and hoping he would just like, and then finally we got the bird after like 2 hours of messing with him. And I'm like, oh my God, that was like the hardest bird I've ever had to kill.
Makes it worth it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was definitely rewarding for sure.
That's fun. Do you is it shotgun only that you use, or do you ever go with anyone with bows at all?
No, I haven't done archery yet, because there's a lot of instances, I want to kill one with archery.
Yeah.
There's a lot of instances though where I feel like I'd be like, God, I could have killed that bird with a gun.
Yeah.
You know,
What's your ideal range to get them into with the shotgun?
30 yards,
30 yards?
35 yards. Yeah.
Okay. No further. You're not.
Well, 40. Yeah, you can definitely kill one at 40.
Okay.
50's a reach.
Okay.
You know, especially if you can get them in closer.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's just kind of like a waiting game. You know.
Okay.
Just depending on what the situation is. You know, if he's gonna come, but he looks like he's a little sketched out by the situation. Looking at, you know, how his behavior is. You know, like you can tell when a bird's about to book it, looking at his wings most of the time.
Okay.
So they're strutting, you know, they're kind of, their wings are down. And then if you see his behavior change and then he kind of folds his wings in like that, you know,
He's ready to go.
And he starts doing this, you're like, okay, gig's up.
Yeah.
You know? So you better let her fly then. But yeah, you're just kind of going off the behavior of the tom. You know, a lot of it's just a waiting game too. You know,
Okay.
like I killed a bird 2 years ago, late season, Memorial Day weekend. And oh my God, I was out there for like an hour and a half trying to call this bird in, and it was like noon. He had no hens, but earlier in the morning, he had 6-7 hens with him, and no hens at the time, you know. And I was yelping, and he gobbled once or twice, and then that was it. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna wait this out. He knows I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, he's gonna probably be a little nosy and come. And I sat there, and the gnats and the mosquitoes are so bad in the end of May, you know. And I'm next to a river too, so it's just even worse.
Way worse.
Yeah, you know, you're sitting there just getting bit, you know, like around the eyes and everything. The only place they can find, you know.
Yeah.
And then eventually I could see I'm sitting there, and is that a tag on a tree? You know, like a red tag. It looked like a red tag, like whipping on a tree. And I could tell. And I was like, oh, that's a tom. You know, like 100 yards away.
Yeah.
And he's just slowly just making his way, you know. And I'm like, okay, you know, wait.
Wait it out.
It was, I heard that bird sitting there spitting and drumming for 45 minutes before I could finally like get a shot at him at 40 yards.
Oh my.
He was sitting there, and I could hear, and he's not gobbling, but all I hear is just like the bass, you know, when they're strutting.
Yeah.
All I could hear was that. I was getting so annoyed because I couldn't see him because he was over like this berm and stuff. I was just pulling out my phone. I was just scrolling, just waiting, and then I was like, okay, he's getting closer, you know. And then I put my phone away. It's like, is he getting closer? Is he coming to the right? Is he coming to the left? I can't tell, you know. And then eventually he just kind of pops his head out, and that's all she wrote. He still thinks he's strutting. So.
So are you always like kind of like doing the spot and stock stuff where you go in, you know they're there, you're getting to your tree or whatever you're leaning up against and waiting them out, calling for them, or do you ever set up a ground blind and have some decoys?
You know, I've never been. I have hunted out of ground blind, but I'm just so impatient, and especially with like reacting to what the birds are doing too. You know, like I always want to move.
Yeah.
You know, if they're going this way, I want to make it seem as realistic. You know, like hen's not just gonna stand there in one spot. You know.
Yeah.
I have done it, and it does work obviously because everybody does it.
Yeah, a lot of people have success with it.
Yeah, of course. But I like doing the run and gun type thing in my personal preference, just because I don't know. I like just kind of sitting out there next to a tree, you know, moving from tree to tree if I need to change up my location, change up my spot, you know.
Do you even use decoys then?
I do sometimes. Okay. That's also a fine line too, because if you get a tom, you know, that's been messed with before, and he's sitting there looking over that decoy. If he's got a lot of time and he's looking over that decoy, he's like, something's not right here. That she's not moving.
Yeah.
You know, something's going on. I've also had a lot of toms where it just pisses you off because he sees your decoy, and he's like maybe 100, 120 yards away. He sees it, and then he just stays there. You know, just keeps strutting back and forth because he's like, I'm not going to come any further. You see me.
Yeah.
Because in reality, like in nature, like the hens are supposed to be coming to the toms. So you're kind of going against the grain here by trying to get these toms to come to the hens.
Okay.
Do you use a Jake or a Tom decoy?
I
then?
will, yeah. So that's the only time I actually will use decoys is I'll have a hen decoy with a Jake decoy.
Okay.
Especially like early season. Then he's like, "What the fuck is this?" You know, like,
Yeah.
who's this little punk? You know, like, and then he'll come in. You know, but just a hen out there alone or something, or a couple hens out there, you know, it does work for sure. But I don't do it a lot. I like just kind of, it makes them more curious when there's no decoy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because then they're kind of like looking around like, well, where'd she go? Well, maybe if I go another 10, 15 yards, I'll see her, you know? Or, you know, if you're in a wooded area, then he's like, okay, well, I better keep going this way because she probably went that way,
Yeah.
you know, and then bang, you know, he's still looking for her.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I do use them, but
2 at most. Oh, you think?
yeah, that's...
You don't need a whole flock.
No, it's not like goose hunting. You're not out there, you know, like getting ready, you know? You know,
Yeah.
no, I'll use maybe 2 or 1, just depending on the time of the year. And late season, I usually don't, just because I try to get them a little more curious and stuff, you know, like trying to get them, because I'm not calling a lot, especially in the late season. So I'm trying to get them like nosy and try to figure out where I am.
Yeah.
You know, if they spot you, then they're like, okay, well, there she is. Let's go, you know.
Yep.
But
You ever run trail cameras like in the off season?
No.
Like, for them?
not trail cameras, no. I mean,
No.
a lot of people will tell me, you know, like, yeah, I saw Tom over here, you know, like especially family members, or especially when I'm out just driving around, especially out in the country and stuff, you know. A lot of the places that I am turkey hunting in the spring, I'm also deer hunting as well, you know. And you cover a lot of miles, especially deer hunting, you know, covering a lot of country.
Yep.
So I usually just kind of remember that, bank it for later, and just
put a pin on X or something.
Yeah, I have so many pins like of just like a tom.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's like, oh, there's turkeys over here, you know.
That's when I was driving to Steve's house a few weeks ago. I was maybe 30 minutes from your place, and I seen probably one of the biggest toms I've ever seen. And I'm like putting a pin here, and like I'm trying to figure out, all right, I gotta call this guy and see if I can get some permission to go on.
Yeah, right.
And
that's another thing too. Getting permission from people. A lot of people it's different from deer hunting. I found out, you know, like people are like, yeah, go kill that fucking turkey.
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't really care about these turkeys, you know?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, sometimes you'll get people who are like, oh, but they're so pretty, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, but farmers especially, they're like, kill every fucking turkey you see.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of old people, like old farmers, are just like, they are destroying my crops. You know, they're out there digging up all my, you know, my crops.
Yep.
Kill everything, you know? But yeah, so I've been a lot more prone to going to ask permission and stuff, because like an Onyx is such a great tool now too.
Yeah.
Because it has owner information. Like if they just own it, you know, they don't live there. Like I've called people up, like especially when we're in Wausau, and I was finding like these like little plots of land, but they lived in Eau Claire or something, and it's like, oh, fuck, you know, like then you're you know, Googling people.
Yeah, you can't just go door knocking.
Yeah, going on yellow pages on Google. It's like, okay, well, where's Meredith Johnson? You know?
Yeah.
And then you finally is like, hey, is this Meredith who owns land in Wausau? And it's like, nope. Okay. Just keep going to the next one, you know?
Hang up on you. I'll try the next number.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But no, Onyx is definitely a big tool that I've utilized a lot. Yeah, like I was saying, like last year I killed a bird in Minnesota. I think it was strictly just because of like you looking at Onyx and just kind of like going off of, you know, what I was, you know, it was surrounded by private land, and I was like, I bet you not a lot of people are messing with this bird unless these private land people are doing it.
Yeah.
And so I went back there, and it was just like a little like ski trail, you know, and it kind of turned into some pines and stuff. I'm like, this is looking pretty promising, you know, and I got out and I was kind of walking around, and I hadn't even called or anything yet, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm like, what the fuck? It scared the hell out of me, like, you know, like a partridge.
They're right here.
Oh, but it was a turkey. And I'm watching, I'm like, oh, what the hell? You know, like, there's a hen flying away. I'm like, that's weird.
Huh.
Why is there just a hen walking around out here? And then I was like, oh, fuck it, you know, man, I'm gonna wait a couple minutes, because if she's with a tom, he's gonna be like, well, my date just left me.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? What was that? and like yelped a couple minutes later, and like 80 yards from me, just like right on top of me. I'm like, uh-oh, this isn't good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I would say that's probably why I got my bird last year. It was just kind of like looking at onyx, looking at the terrain and stuff.
Do you ever run into like other hunters when you're on public land? Like, is it okay? It's pretty
for sure. And they see it too. It's like, oh, there's a truck out here. That sucks.
Yeah.
It's or in the morning too. You're like, that bird's gobbling his fucking head off, and then you get over there, and then there's like a truck parked there, and you're like, that's why.
Yeah.
He isn't just gobbling for the hell of it.
Yeah.
He's gobbling at this guy. Yeah, but that's you deal with that for like anything, especially like gear, like gun hunting too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why onyx is also why I use it a lot too, or even just going off of like what I've done previously, like going to these really backwoods spots, that nobody's really gonna touch, and then knowing that like maybe there's pines there or something, that they're like roosting trees or something,
Yeah.
That's usually kind of where I go first is those little like back nook areas. Last year we killed a bird, and we scouted the day before, one of my buddies, and we had 5 or 6 toms in that we kind of had lined up in the book, and just before sunset I was like, this looks pretty good over here. There's like this private land, field, and then it kind of turns into like a river, and then there's like a newly cut off piece, like section. And so I called, and it was like 3/4 of a mile this tom gobbled, and I'm like, oh. So we kind of went back there, really got him dialed in on like where he was that night, and then we went back the next morning. Didn't even like use an owl call. Hiked way back there, and got him to come in and killed him. And I don't think this bird's ever been messed with, and it was a nice mature tom. It was like 10 and a half inch beard or something like that. So yeah.
When you're hiking in early in the morning like that, do you ever blow them out of the roost when it's dark, or do they not care if you're underneath them when it's dark?
Oh yeah, you scare the hell out of yourself too.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Like what the
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I was on them.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's one thing I hate. My grandfather's getting to that age where he doesn't have any hearing, and he's like, well, let's go over here, and I'm like, we are gonna be setting up camp right underneath this guy.
Yeah.
We're gonna wake up and be like that.
Yeah.
Like yeah, it happens. I like to be a little bit more cautious, so like set up quite a ways away from where I know he is.
Mm-hmm.
I killed a bird last year. I called him from what seemed like a mile away, the way the crow flies. Like he was, and I messed with him like a couple days before that, and I didn't know the terrain too well, and there was a fence that he was on the other side of.
Okay.
And I was like, oh God. It was with me and my buddy, and we're watching this bird strut like 80 yards from me, just kind of like going along the fence line, and I'm watching him, and I'm like adjusting. I didn't know there's a fence there. I'm adjusting, and I'm like, where the hell is he going? It's like, what the hell is that? And my buddy's like, oh. I'm like, why was he walking that way? We're over here.
Yeah.
And then I went back there a couple days later, and I called him from forever away. I called him off of private land, through another section of private land, across the road, and into like another pine planting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what was the question before that? What were you saying?
I forget what I was saying.
How far will they fly? Like if you spook them out of their roost, like are they going within 100 yards and down to a different tree? Can they go further? Like,
Yeah, for sure. They'll fly quite a ways.
Okay.
They'll get down. I mean, turkeys can fly for quite a, I don't know the exact measurement, like distance on what they can fly, but they can fly pretty far.
Will
Better
they
than
go
what
from
people think, anyway.
tree to tree? If
No.
you or they just tree down?
Yeah, just
down.
tree
Oh, yeah.
tree soar, like mostly gliding is what
Yeah.
they're doing. They're not like
Yeah.
consistently flying like an eagle or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just mostly gliding. But yeah, they'll just kind of most of the time just kind of come down off the roost, like right underneath them there, which is something I try to simulate a lot when I'm calling, like in my early morning cadence too. If I have them off the roost and I know they're in the roost still, and I want them to come to me, I'll simulate like a fly down. I'll take my hat off and I'll just
Okay.
and I've gotten gotten them to come that way because I think they get more interested, because if they've been messed with, good
Yeah.
luck most of the time, if they've already had a couple BBs put in their chest or something, those are the hardest birds to get. So, calling and using all these different tactics definitely help
Okay.
a lot, or even just scratching too. I'll do a lot of scratching and stuff when I'm calling because turkeys, they do like if you ever seen a chicken scratch,
Yeah.
they go like,
Yep.
So I'll do that a lot too when I'm calling.
What got you to like the point you're at now with like your calling? Like, is it just tons of practice, watching other videos, or just learning
Yeah.
like on the fly? Like,
Yeah, a lot of just practice, especially listening to other hens, and kind of going off of what they're doing too.
okay.
Because that's the best decoy you can get, is another hen.
Yeah.
Or you're just listening to what she's doing. Some of the best instances I've encountered during hunting is we were actually out east hunting and watching what this hen was doing in front of us and how she was calling to this tom. I called her in and she was calling to the tom. So it was the boss hen of the flock. And as soon as she came down off the roost and she was right in front of us, no decoys or anything, but she knew we were around there.
Mm-hmm.
But she just stayed right there in front of us, like 30 yards. And the way she was talking to him, like her cadence, like you'll hear a lot of people say, like 5-6 yelps, maybe max.
Okay.
The rah, 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 that's about it. It's different. You gotta she's yelping long cadences and she's doing like a flock gathering. And so I've gotten a lot of success just kind of mimicking of what I remember seeing her do.
Yeah.
She started throwing out some cadences that were probably like 20 something seconds long, just kept on going. And he's gobbling probably 3 times during that whole thing. Like she's going, rah, 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 rah. It just kept going. And then out of the woodwork, all of a sudden, all these turkeys were flying in off the roost and just gathering right in front of us. And I was like, this is crazy. It was like National Geographic.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there and then they're all talking to each other. And he's gobbling his head off,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever because I don't have to do anything.
Yeah. They're doing all the work for
Yeah,
you.
my buddies are sitting there like this, But yeah, I just remember that instance a lot, and or even just calling to hens specifically is probably the best way you can get a tom, especially like later in the season too.
Mm-hmm.
You have to really change up your tactics, especially like henned up toms are the hardest toms to kill because they're not going to leave their hens, like
Okay.
no matter what. They already have like established that kind of little relationship.
They've got what they want. They're settled in. And...
Yeah, they ain't going to leave that hen. Especially if it's a hen that they like, they're going to follow that hen wherever she goes. And most of the time, she wants nothing to do with you. Like she'll hear a hen, like you start yelping, she's like, no, we ain't going over there. We ain't messing with that thing.
Yeah. Want nothing to do with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you using a diaphragm call every time? Do you ever
That's
use a slate or box, anything? Or
Yeah, diaphragm's my main one.
Okay.
Just because of the range that I can do with it, I can throw out yelps. I can throw out a half-assed little gobble too if I really want to.
So what's like your go-to diaphragm call?
The Woodhaven. That's my favorite. Is the Woodhaven. It's like a split V. I think it's like the Red Stinger is what it is. I like the split V. There's different cuts of diaphragms if you've ever looked at diaphragms, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
The one with like a crescent in the middle or like on the sides, you're gonna be getting your really sharp yelps.
Okay.
Obviously they all sound different. People like the like their preferences and stuff. But with that, it's like just a little slit in the middle. It almost kind of looks like a snake tongue, like a split snake tongue right down the middle.
Yeah.
That's my favorite because I can do pretty much anything I want with it. I can even try to get into like little purrs and stuff doing that.
Okay.
But a lot of like I found that I can get pretty loud with it too. I've even been shocked where I'm like, is that bird gobbling at me? Like
That's a ways out.
Yeah, I know. And they're like, "They're over there," and I'm like, at me? Like, are you serious? They didn't hear a raven or something? And it's like, no, he gobbled at you. I'm like, wow.
Oh, I'm pretty good at this.
Yeah. Actually, the first turkey that I ever called in, so my grandfather had domesticated turkeys, a couple of toms.
Okay.
And I was telling Steve about this too, is that how I would practice my calling, I thought I was just like world champion Michael Watt-Bell was gonna, I'm way better than this guy. Who's this guy? Like Realtree, and this thing was just gobbling his butt off at me, and then I could just hear gobble, gobble, like way off the left. I'm like, that's not one of Grandpa's turkeys, and you're yelping and gobble, gobble, and I was like, oh, Grandpa, the turkey gobbling at me. Yeah, I got two in the cage. It's like, no, there's another one gobbling at me, and that's my earliest memory. Because then we went back, because he's got like 20 acres or so. We went back on this trail, and I was yelping, and he was gobbling, and then he's like, okay, I'll call him in, and I'll take it from here. He had his little old trusty box call or something,
Yeah.
Yelp, 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 and quiet. And I'm like, I got him to gobble,
I could do it.
Yeah, I was probably like 10 or 11, and
Wow.
and he's sitting there and he's, yeah, and I've watched him call in, a ton of turkeys on this thing.
Yeah.
This thing, it's like 30-year-old box call, and he's not gobbling at that. And then I bring out this little canoe paddle looking thing. I go, rah, 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 gobble, gobble, gobble. I'm like, he's like, all right, well, I'll let you do it, I guess.
Yeah.
So then I'm sitting there, a little kid, and I'm just, rah, 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 gobble, gobble. And here comes a Tom.
That's sweet.
Walking up the hill, and I remember that, and I was like, that was awesome.
Those are cool memories.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to start to get into diaphragms now, too. And a lot of people don't use diaphragms because they're like, yeah, it tickles the roof of my mouth. It's like, okay, we'll get past that.
Yeah.
And that's probably the most useful one. But when you go out there, you need to definitely have a whole assortment of calls.
Okay.
Even that story I was just telling you about how, like, he was using his box call, but he was only gobbling and reacting at mine.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll get those turkeys a lot where I'll call with like this certain diaphragm call, and he's not reacting. Maybe he'll gobble once every like 3 or 4 cadences, and then I'll switch up my mouth call to like maybe a raspier sound, or maybe like a younger hen sounding, like super energetic or something, a different cut.
Yeah.
And he starts getting all amped up on that. That happens all the time. A lot of the time when I am calling in turkeys, I am switching up calls. I have my like a little case, and I'll switch them in and out and seeing which one he likes the most.
Yeah.
And then even sometimes, just like your little pot call too, like a little glass pot call too, or chalk, 2 different sounds, different range too. Like glass is you're going to be reaching those turkeys pretty far with a glass call.
Okay.
You can locate them with that. But chalk, you can purr with glass, but you can purr a lot easier. I found, with chalk, with a, sorry, like the blackboard chalk one. But yeah, it's just a different sound that you're kind of going for. And then kind of piggybacking off of that, like these henned up toms that you're going after, you really want to switch up your calling a lot, because you're with these henned up toms are the hardest toms to kill. Anybody who's ever been turkey hunting, they're like, I was really trying to get this tom, but he had all these hens. And at that point, you're not calling at the tom anymore. You're calling at the hen. Okay. And so every once in a while, you'll hear like a yelp, 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 the hens that are with him. So the people, they know he's with hens. It's like, that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially off the roost too. You'll hear all these hens start yelping and stuff. But what you need to do, and I've killed a lot of toms this way, when I first started doing it, is you need to assert like your dominance over these hens. You got to really piss them off in a way where, like, when they're yelping, you cut them off or you mimic them. I mimic hens all the time, and they get so pissed off, and they, you know, they'll come charging in, you know, and you're just like, before you even know it, a hen's on top of you, and then right behind them, here comes a tom. And
Those
it's like,
ladies don't like being talked over.
no, yeah, yeah, it's so funny. It's because they get so pissed off. But if you call at that hen, when they're henned up, you know, like mid-season, you know, in that certain time period where the tom has his flock, maybe they're not nesting yet, and they're kind of just effing around all day, all together. You know, you'll see them all like in a field or something like that. It's like noon, and they're still all together, and it's like, fuck, you know, how am I gonna get that tom? Calling it the hens. So you wanna do something to trigger those hens. So like the hen will hear you at noon. I got a lot of birds this way. They'll hear you, and they'll start yelping too, and immediately when they start their cadence, you cut them off. So they're going, rah, 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 you know, and they're like, well, what the fuck was that? You know, and then they'll start cackling, and then you cackle right back, and they're like, okay, you know, this bitch means business.
Yeah.
And then
She's trying to fight.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I've had so many hens just kind of like charging in. Last year I had a buddy, he called me up, and he's like, you know, I'm hunting this piece of property, and we have all these birds, and we can't get any of them to come in because it's, you know, it's mid-season. It's like, you know, beginning of May, so it's that weird time period where they're not nesting yet, and I can't get them to come in. They have all these hens. They have like eight hens with them, and it's like, okay, you're there during the roost, you know, when they're coming out. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, are you hearing those hens yelping and stuff? He's like, that's when they just shut up. They don't say anything anymore. It's like, okay, that's perfect. It's like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, you need to mimic that hen. That hen that you're hearing is the boss. She says what goes, you know?
Okay.
And so he's like, okay. And I'm like, when she starts yelping and cackling and doing her long cadence, what I was talking about before, you know, like it's not a kiki run, but it's kind of just like a long, it's called the flock gathering cadence, where they just go rah, 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 forever. You need to cut them off and start cackling and getting really excited, like an excited hen yell, like cackle. And then they're like, well, who does she think she is? You know?
Yeah.
He's like, okay, maybe we'll try doing that. So then the next morning they go out, and they're gobbling off the roost. He's like gobbling at everything they're throwing at him, and then that hen starts yelping, and bird's not gobbling anymore, and they're like, fuck, not again. I'm like, okay, well, let's take the piece of advice, you know. So they take out their box call, and they, you know, they're cackling and everything and yelping, and he's like, we killed 2 birds because that hen came in all pissed off.
Wow.
And the toms were running right after her because she was sitting there like coming in like, who the hell is this bitch think she is? And he said we killed two nice matured gobblers right after, like, that were just following her.
That's sweet.
I was like, yeah, that's what you got to do. You calling it the hens, you know?
That's cool for you to be a part of it, like with people like that, even if you're not there, like just from them reaching out and telling them, try this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's, I don't know. Every instance is different, but I was like, been there, seen that. I know exactly what you need to do there. That's just a common case of henned up tom.
That just comes from all these years you put in and time. Like,
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Because you know, you're leaving the woods just scratching your head. You're like, what could I have done differently? You know, and then you watch videos where you're just kind of, you know, going through it on your own, and you're like, what could I do differently? Maybe I'll try this. What do I got to lose? You know, maybe I'll throw a gobble in there or something. You know, maybe they're territorial tom. Maybe they're just, you know, a pussy tom or something. You know? Like, let's get their ass kicked. You know? You know, but yeah, it's I don't know. Every bird is different, and you kind of just got to react off of what they're doing. But yeah.
Do you ever like you go hunt with your buddies and stuff a lot? Do you ever like run cam for them, or do they run cam for you when you're the trigger man, or like anything like that? Try to get anything on film?
Yeah, I've tried doing it before, not successfully.
Okay.
I brought GoPros out before. Last year we had a couple of GoPros out. That one was kind of a stupid deal. They came up behind us. It was a really rainy morning, so they're less like, they're not going to gobble a lot when it's raining. It was so windy too,
Okay.
and we couldn't get a good grasp on where they were, and they kind of came from our left and stuff, so we didn't really get anything because all the cameras pointed that way.
Mm-hmm.
The one instance I was telling you about when we were in Wausau, when it was like National Geographic, we actually had a mount on the gun.
Oh.
Or was it the hat? No, it was the hat. We had a mount on my buddy's hat.
Very cool.
And the one who had the gun. And I was sitting there, I was like, this is going to be awesome film. And little did we know that the thing flipped down, and the only thing we had was the barrel of the gun.
Of course.
And I'm like, oh my God. And it was like a Tom and a couple Jakes came in, and we ended up doubling up on that one too. And I'm like, oh my God, that would have been awesome. We had a double, and we had like 14 turkeys in front of us, and I was like,
that's the joys of trying to film hunts, man. It's always something with a camera that you're messing up with.
I know. Yeah.
So
and then
frustrating.
I've had it where like it's been on me, and I'm calling in for like my sister or my grandfather. And I think maybe they might have caught like a little glare off of it or something.
Okay.
So now ever since that happened, I've like wrapped it in duct tape or something. You can get a different case, but like something matte, so it's not glaring or something, You get that glass or plastic case or whatever, and any kind of sunlight, they're just like, the hell is that down there? Christmas ornament?
That shouldn't be here. That wasn't here last night.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's standing up on top of the hill, like, the hell?
No, that's fun.
Yeah, I'd like to get a nice video or something, because, something that you can look back on and stuff, that, like what could I have done differently too? Like if it's not a successful hunt, like what could I have done differently in that instance? Or like what did I do right, obviously. But yeah, I've never really videotaped it. I've tried, but a lot of the time I'm just kind of like, I just want to kill this bird.
Yeah.
I'd like to videotape it in the right instance, but it's like I just want to go out there and kill that bird.
That'd be like cool, like in the future with kids or grandchildren or something. Like you started with your grandpa turkey hunting.
Right.
Like imagine if you did have those memories like recorded back then. That's something you could work to do now.
Right.
For like yourself in the future and then them. It'd be pretty cool. Very cool.
How many buddies you usually hunt with? Is it typically just you and one dude, or you go 3-4 people at a time?
I hate
that. I was gonna say, because that National Geographic time, it sounded like there was more than 2 people there.
Yeah, there was 3 of us.
Okay.
I hate getting a whole troop full of people walking through the woods, because, some people, don't know how to step in the woods. And you're like, maybe let's not step on that branch.
Yeah. You could have stepped over that branch.
I was gonna say, with turkey eyesight, I figured you'd probably want as least amount of people as possible.
Yeah.
You probably enjoy hunting by yourself the most. I assume.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because I can do anything. I'll run and gun. I'll be a Green Beret out there. I'm gonna be
army crawling all over.
I army crawl all the time. One of my buddies. It was 3 of us at the time though. I killed a bird that way. I was just army crawling. It's like, and this was a big bird too, and he'd been messed with a lot, and we knew it. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to pull out a lot of tricks here, I think. And he was coming in 75 yards, and the hens just left, and he was not coming any closer. Even though the hens did leave, he was not going to come any closer. And he was just out of the range of eyesight, and I waited till he was like, he was out of eyesight, and I just kind of rolled off the tree, and I started army crawling. My buddy's like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, just stay here, You're
like, this guy's a maniac.
Yeah. I'm army crawling, and I start yelping, and he's gobbling at everything I was doing. but he wouldn't come. And then I just kept on going. And then he's like, why is she walking away? I was standing next to my truck, and I hear bang, yeah. I'm like, let's go.
Like that worked.
Yeah, I was next to my tailgate, leaning against the truck, going rah, 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 and gobble, gobble, and I'm like, he's got to be right on top of those guys, you know. And then bang, it was like a double beard. He was like 27 pounds or something like that. Big bird. But yeah, it's just different instances and stuff where you got to pull out a lot of different tricks. I hate, taking a big group out, because of all the noise and stuff. And then some people, there's something in their eye, they're doing this, and it's like, come on,
Stop moving.
don't move at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then especially when they come in real quiet. I hate quiet birds. And they come in, and then you just hear the pop, and you're like, oh, like they got us.
Yeah.
Better do something. Yeah.
What wanted to get into one, have you hunted Minnesota at all?
Yep.
Okay.
Hunted last year.
Last year?
Yeah. Killed a bird first day, midday. The hen just left, and got him. He actually pulled a quick one on me, and I was calling him, and he was reacting to everything I was doing, which was kind of crazy for midday. And I was like, I got this guy. Like, I know he's coming. And so I set up this way, and it was on like a little dirt bike trail, and there's pines in front of me. He was off to my left, and there's a little ATV trail that kind of intersected with this dirt bike trail. And so it was coming like this right in front of me, and the dirt bike trail I set up on was just off that ATV trail. And I figured he'd be just coming right down the ATV trail, because he was off to the left.
Take the easy route.
Go around it. And he starts gobbling, and he's going that way. I'm like, what the hell, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he starts gobbling, and pretty soon before I know it, he's behind me. I'm like, okay. So then I knew he was pretty close, and I was like, I'm really chancing it. So I scooted over like 2 trees, and I was like media away from this trail. And the first time I saw him, he was like at 8 yards.
Oh my!
And I was barrel stuffed him. I'm like, either I'm gonna hit him or I'm gonna explode his head.
Yeah.
Or I'm going right over his head.
Yeah. Completely missed this one.
Yeah, because maybe the wad will knock him out or something if I miss.
The noise is gonna just knock him out.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, he was right on top of me. And I have hunted previously in Minnesota, not successfului.
Okay.
Earlier on, maybe like 8 years ago. But last year was the first time I really got into it because I already filled out 2 tags in Wisconsin. So I was like, I don't know, go over to Minnesota.
Try something different.
Yeah, because usually I am trying to just fill my tag in Wisconsin because I know that area so well.
Yeah.
Like that Wascott all the way down to Trigo, Spooner area. I've hunted that forever. So
what's your thought with drawing for tags for like zone 6, like how tough it is for people? You hear about so many people not being able to get one.
Yeah. Zone 6 is the hardest zone to get. And I didn't get one this year, DNR. Even though I'm successful every year, DNR.
He knows how to fill a tag.
But zone 4 they always have tags, but zone 6 I was at the turkey banquet last week, National Wild Turkey Federation, the Gitchigumi chapter, and even one of the main guys was like, I didn't even draw for zone 6.
One of like the guys running it.
Yeah, one of the guys for the club, and I was like, what the, and I was talking to other people too, and they're like, didn't even get drawn for zone 6.
It just blows my mind, like, that people are struggling to get the tags because you see so many turkeys up here now. Like years ago, there wasn't nearly as many turkeys as there are.
Right now, they're making their way up to like Baudette.
Yeah, they're everywhere. I'm like, something's got to change with how many tags they're giving out because.
Right. But yeah, there is a fine line there too. Like you don't want to overkill them.
No.
But I think we do have a sustainable population right now. Yeah. Obviously, because you go down B, just down the road here, and you're like, turkey in the springtime.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Any little field you see, there's in the corner, there's Tom strutting with a couple hens,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. DNR's got it figured out, I guess.
I think there's some things that need to be worked on.
Yeah, it's but Zone 4 always tags such a big area, though. Always all the way down to Eau Claire.
Yeah.
So
What's your most turkeys you got in a year? Just
most,
2?
3.
3?
Yeah, 3.
All in Wisconsin, or is that combo?
3 for you.
Yeah, 3. Oh, just for
you
just for me.
personally?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 3.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, I killed a couple toms and a jake one year, and that was last season. I actually killed them back to back in the same day, so that was pretty sweet. You just go on because if you have leftover permits, you can just buy, fill out a tag, and you're like, well, we got a couple.
Because that's what you can do like for Zone 4, correct? You can just go and basically just get one at
Right.
any time.
Right. Yep. So Zone 4, they usually have a lot of leftover, especially in the last 2 seasons. Some like season 5 and 6.
Okay.
Or what is it, D&E or whatever. You can always get leftover tags. There's usually a couple thousand that aren't even used.
Wow.
Zone 6 though, no. Like
Not happening.
there's none leftover that you can buy over the counter this year. I think the leftovers next week that you can start buying. So I'm gonna try to get one for Zone 4 in a little time period that I can hunt this year because it's so busy. But
So let's talk about that. What do you got coming up this year for turkey hunting?
yeah, I got I don't have a tag DNR. So I'm gonna be hunting Minnesota when I can. Probably the first week. It's like April 16th, I think, is when it starts.
Okay.
16th or 17th. Try to kill a couple, then I have to head down to Mexico for a bachelor party. The next week I'm busy. And then week after that, I got nothing going on, and that's when I'm going to try to get a Zone 4 tag,
Okay.
which would be the second week of May. So I'm going to be trying to head down there, Zone 4, Danbury area, maybe a little bit south of that. Usually kill a bird every year down there, but they're messed with so much down there too that, every tom that you're probably encountering has been messed with Joe Blow.
Yeah.
And then, when I head down Memorial Day weekend, I have to head down there for a wedding down in Nashville. So I was actually looking into it, and I'm going to try to hunt down there in Nashville.
Down in Tennessee.
Down in Tennessee.
Very cool.
I got some buddies down there, and I looked into it, non-resident. You can get a tag one day. They do it differently. One day tag for $25.
Okay.
And then you can get a 3-day tag for $125, but you can kill 2 toms.
Nice.
So if we get down there early enough, I'd like to hunt 3 days, try to get a couple toms. And I got some buddies. I got a buddy who sends me Snapchats like every other day of like these toms and walking around the construction site that he's on. And and you're just like, God, I want to kill one of those things.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe I'll head down there and onyx, great thing, especially when you're heading to those places that you have no idea.
Yeah.
Look up there's a lot of public land down in Tennessee, and obviously they have a lot of birds because you can kill 2,
Yeah.
in 3 days. So, and they have, those are Easterns down there. They have some Osceolas here and there, which would be really cool.
That'd be cool.
One of my bucket lists is to get a Grand Slam of, probably a lifetime Grand Slam. 1 year Grand Slam would be crazy.
That'd be really cool.
That's I think that's a short list of people.
Have
that
you
can do
ever
that.
heard that story of Waddell doing it in one day?
1 day?
1 day.
What I don't even know what state you could even.
It wasn't in one state. They
had the jet.
had a jet.
Oh, so it was like a challenge type of thing. that
Yeah,
you
it
did.
was.
a world record.
It was like a world record under 24 hours.
That's wild.
Grand Slam. He was landing, hunting, killing a bird, going to an airport, getting back on a jet, going to a new place.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Didn't they do it in like 14 hours or something like that?
Something like that.
It was crazy.
It was insanely quick.
Yeah.
He had to have had like scouts, like,
Oh, I'm sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
okay, well, they're still here, I'm looking at them,
I'm like curious, like, how many pictures do they get? Like, snap one pic and then get on the jet. Like,
Yeah, right.
yeah,
And that's one guy I really love watching is Michael Waddell, turkey calling national champion.
yeah,
That guy definitely knows his stuff. He can definitely talk turkey. I love watching his videos of like, especially what to do like late season compared to early season. If you want to learn how to turkey hunt, Michael Waddell's a really good teacher with that. And one thing that I remember him talking about is, because he's such a good turkey caller, and I think I am too. And there's a difference. So are you out there calling in turkeys? Are you hunting turkeys? Those are two completely different. That's a different mindset that you need to have.
Yeah.
Like, are you just throwing out anything out there, or are you actually calling to the actual turkey and trying to get them in?
yeah,
Because as a really good caller, people get carried away with what they're throwing at them, and it's not really hitting home to that tom, and they're like, well, what is that hen yelling at me for? So you have to change your range, maybe even like softer little yelps. It's different. You gotta hunt them. You can't be just throwing anything at them.
From my lack of experience, like with turkey hunting, has just been like mind blowing to me. And just in this conversation, there's so many things that I just realized I don't know about them. Like, there's so much that goes into killing a turkey that I never thought about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a fun game. Like, it's always just like a competition is how I look at it.
Yeah.
Of like you versus that turkey. And people listening, they've never hunted turkeys before, and they're like, oh, it's a dumb turkey. And it's like, okay, well, try hunting them. You'll see them maybe in like St. Paul or Minneapolis or something in the suburbs. They're like, well, I have them walking around my Jeep all the time.
Yeah, this looks so easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then once you try to hunt these things, different ball game. You get different. It's tough. You got to really learn how to talk to these things and try to communicate with them.
Yeah. Well, just seeing the way that like they're able to like blow up their population up here, like they're smart. They know how to survive. Like they're a lot smarter than you think they are.
Yeah, and these winters that we've been having are really nice for the turkey population because, it gets cold and they can deal with cold for quite a bit. Snow, they're scavenging. Go next to the road or pick next to the road or something. But they can go 30, 40, 45 days without eating.
That's insane.
Yeah, they can go a whole month without eating. So they're survivors.
Yeah.
They can definitely handle it. I think it's just that really frigid cold stuff. We had a couple of years ago, three years ago or so, when it was like -20, -30 all the time.
Yeah, for weeks on end.
Yeah, and it was you found a lot of dead turkeys in the woods. Where, like this year has been a really good winter. So all the poults and stuff that came last spring probably all survived, unless you got eaten by a coyote or, got picked off by a hawk or something, or owl when they were young.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been pretty good lately, so that'll be nice. So hopefully I get a tag for Zone 6 in the future here. DNR.
Let them know.
Yeah.
I didn't get one either.
Yeah.
So
Pissing me off.
Have you hunted Rios or Miriams before?
No, I haven't.
What's like your dream turkey?
Dream turkey? Miriams, I think, are really pretty. Because they have the white and stuff. I think they're in the category of like the easier turkey though to kill.
Okay.
Grands, those are a bigger bird. I think the prettiest one is the Osceola. They have like a lot of fluorescent, like different colors on them. Like a lot of different, like, they look different, but I don't know. I would like to kill an Osceola. So when I go down to Nashville, or down in Tennessee, that area, I'd like to kill an Osceola if I could see one.
Yeah.
But Easterns are fun. They're a fun bird because they're really hard. But yeah, that'd probably be my dream. Would probably kill an Osceola or just getting a Grand Slam.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Man.
Different terrain. It's it's fun, you know, the hardwoods and everything compared to like up here in the swamps and stuff.
Yeah.
Completely different ball game. You know, you see people on like the Outdoor Channel hunting next to fields and stuff. Don't have a lot of fields up here in a lot of places, especially down in like the Wascott, Minong, you know.
All forest lands.
All forest lands.
Yeah.
You know, you ain't hunting in a field.
No.
So you have to play off of that. You have to, you know, it's a different thing. So that, you know, the no decoy thing, you know, that's why I like to do it, because you're in close encounters right away. You know, when you see them, you're probably at 70, 80 yards. You know, when you're hunting, you know, those fields and stuff, maybe down south and everything, decoys, you know.
Yeah.
You know, because they can see for quite a ways, you know. So you're just kind of playing off of that, you know.
Steve, did you have any questions? Maybe a little trivia type thing?
Let's do some trivia. This time I'm going to be asking them in Trevor.
I'm excited because I didn't come up with any questions. Usually I'm the one that's the question guy. So
This will be good.
Yeah.
You have a buzzer
You're
or something?
gonna actually, let's see how much you actually know. Hide it behind.
I'm not gonna know much. I can tell you that.
All right, let's see what we got cooking.
Oh boy, I'm nervous.
All right, we're gonna go Wisconsin record turkey by weight. It was by weight. It was taken in 2002.
2002. I don't know.
It's a zone 4 turkey.
Zone 4 turkey. Oh,
Zone
yeah.
4, it even says that?
Well, St. Croix County.
Okay.
You go first. And I'm gonna go with my guess after yours.
I don't know. My original thought was like 31, 32, but I'm starting to think it was probably. I have seen it before. I can't remember what it is. I want to say. We'll say 38 pounds.
Holy smokes, that's a big bird. I'm gonna go with a nice easy 35 pound.
34 and a half.
Man, I'm right there.
Yeah. I was thinking, you know, like grain fed. Like,
Yeah.
These things are.
That thing's big.
Yeah. That is a big
That's
bird.
a big bird. Really big bird.
Yeah.
What's the biggest you've
That I've killed?
Yeah.
Actually, when I was, so by weight, high 20s, I think it was 28 was the biggest one I killed.
That's a big bird.
That's a big bird. That's a really big bird.
Yeah.
The biggest score-wise, though, I killed a 4-bearded tom when I was 14.
Holy smokes.
I didn't even know there was such a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I killed a 4-bearded tom, and I was 14 or 13 years old. And that morning, so we were hunting during the youth hunt, and I had missed a turkey. I missed it. Like, I couldn't see it, and my grandfather was yelling at me to shoot, and I'm like, I don't even know what I can't even see it, because he was walking through some thick stuff, and I'm like, I can't even see it.
Yeah.
And I shot at, you know, like where I could see his head kind of, got up and flew away, and I felt, you know, that's the worst feeling.
Feel sick.
And then we went down the road, and we had these birds the day before, and called in, and there was like 3 toms in the group, and they all came in like all on a line.
Huh.
And I just picked out the bigger one. It was an 11-inch beard, 8-inch beard, 5.5, and 5 or something like that.
Wow.
It was I was like, holy moly. And because we were actually, you know, I was asking my uncle, I was like, well, how do you fillet these things? You know, how do you breast them out, you know?
Yeah.
And then he grabs it. He's like, oh, this is actually double, triple, 4 beards. I'm like,
What?
oh, yeah. So I mopped up all the turkey boards I was on that year.
Yeah.
You know, little 13-year-old kid.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. You know, I had people talking like, well, how does that feel? And I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know how to feel right now.
Yeah, I know.
That's sweet. Before we do the next question, Steve, I have a question. So, how does the scoring for turkeys work? Because I don't know.
You know, I think it's like weight. Don't quote me on that, but it's like weight times 2, and then they multiply it like by beard length and then spur length.
Okay. So it goes off of those 3 different.
Yeah, those 3 measurements. So
So
it was
the fan doesn't come into anything.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, no fan. But yeah, it's beard. I don't know what it is for how to calculate the beard. I think it's a multiply of like 3,
Okay.
and then spur. I don't know.
So if you got a 4 bearded turkey, you're scoring pretty good.
It was pretty high.
Yeah.
Is that like record record book worthy?
I don't think
turkey,
so.
or-
I don't know. Maybe. No. No, I have it hanging on the wall. So if anybody wants to go look at it,
Anybody wants to check that out?
yeah, I have it.
We might need to get a picture of that to post.
Yeah.
'Cause that's pretty cool.
Well,
I'm
it's just
intrigued.
the fan, and then you can see the beards,
Yeah.
but it's kind of hard to get all the beards clumped together in that little tiny hole
Yeah.
that's underneath that in that plaque.
Yeah.
So
Do you do
gotta-
your own mounts too?
Yeah, I have. You can you dry them out and you just put them in the plaque and stuff. But
Yeah.
depending on how you do it, if you cut the tail off wrong and then all the feathers kind of go everywhere, if you get that specific little tendon that holds them all together,
Yeah.
then it's tough. We've had that before, but yeah, I've done that before. I try to keep the tail feathers.
Mm-hmm.
Last year I killed a bird, the Minnesota bird that I killed. Actually, was really cool. I still have it in my freezer. The fan had 2 feathers in the middle that were part white. So like we had like the it's usually brown and then the tips are like tan or like light brown and stuff, but the middle 2 fan feathers were actually like zigzag white
That's very cool.
in the middle, and like went all the way down, and they were like peppered, almost kind of like their wing feathers, like how they have the salt and pepper look on them and stuff.
Yeah.
That's how it was in the middle 2 feathers. I was
Very
like,
cool.
"Oh, that's pretty cool."
Yeah, that's unique.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right, number 2, Steve.
Question number 2. Broken in 2024 in Minnesota. Record turkey by weight.
Oh, Minnesota now.
Mm-hmm.
So the Wisconsin's was 34 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm gonna go with 33.
You're thinking lower, huh?
Yeah.
I'm thinking. Do you know what region that is?
Wabasha.
Wabasha.
I don't
Pull
know.
my geographic skills here.
I need to look at a map.
Sounds pretty north to me. Wabasha.
I thought Wabasha was south.
Is it south?
I think so. Don't
Okay, so
quote me.
That's what I was thinking. So you get all these farm fields down there.
Yeah.
Be a hefty bird. Maybe I want to change my answer here.
I'm thinking 36 and a half.
32.8.
Man,
32?
I am on this right
Wow, look at you go, huh?
Wow.
All right.
That's a big bird, though.
I know nothing about birds' weights. Like, I'm just winging it right now. No pun intended.
Broken in 2024. 32. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Back to Wisconsin. 2024. How many turkeys were harvested?
In 2024?
Yep, this was a 22% increase to the 5-year average. 4th highest season of all time.
Man, that's tough. Gotta think about like success too.
So this is 2024. 20, so I don't have any idea, but I was looking up stuff for doing this podcast, and I came across 2023, and that year was up 7% over the 5-year average. So 2024 really blew up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
And you didn't get a tag this.
Right. Didn't get a tag this year.
Oh,
DNR.
oh.
Man, I want to say. Oh my God, that's so many tags too. Because I'm thinking, all these tags that are given out in Zone 4, Zone 1 specifically, there's always leftover tags. I don't know, 38,000?
I don't even know where to begin with this one. I'm gonna say 42,000.
50,435.
Wow.
Wow, that's a lot of birds.
Wow. I was going off of 2023, sorry. So if you multiply that by 22%.
Yeah.
Wrong year. Sorry, my bad.
All right. Wisconsin record turkey by beard length taken in 1993.
93?
Yep.
Okay, so that's tough because it only grows to a certain length and then it starts grounding off. Because when it
Starts dragging.
Yeah, when they strut, it depending on what they're strutting on, it starts grinding away.
I got a question. I heard when measuring a beard, does it go by if there's even only one hair left, like that's say 1.5 inches longer than the rest of the beard? Do you measure that full length to that one hair?
I don't know.
I heard somebody tell me like You measure that whole
I know
thing
I
if
would
there's only
be.
one.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's going a little longer.
Yeah. I got one little strand here. I can get another
Yeah.
inch out of this.
I do. I
Okay.
mean, I don't know like the correct way of scoring, like how you would do that,
Yeah.
but that's what I've done. Is
Okay.
just, taking like maybe a couple if a couple strands are maybe like half an inch longer than the whole girth of and like the rest of it, then maybe
Then you're counting that.
I'm gonna say it only gets to a certain point, 13 and a half.
I was thinking 13.
17.
17?
Holy smokes.
That thing's dragging behind him.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Oh my god, they didn't strut back then. That's why.
No, he was,
One must have been strutting in someone's pen for a while.
yeah.
Yeah.
That one
Struts
was
through water.
that one was just on clover nonstop.
Yeah,
just
right.
Dragging on the clover.
That was a strutting zone.
Holy smokes.
We'll do one more.
One
Finish
more?
it off.
Okay.
Minnesota record turkey by beard length was taken in 2003.
Wisconsin was 17.
Well, they're probably strutting then.
93 they weren't.
Getting
So.
the times. Yeah.
I'll say 15 now. I don't know.
That's a good one. In what year? 2003? Would you say 15?
Yeah.
15 and a half.
16.625.
I got
Just had
one
to
on
go
you.
over
I
it.
got one on you. $1, Bob.
Nice.
I wonder if so record beard by length, so obviously that just counts for the longest beard if it's a multi-beard bird.
That had to be a situation where it was like one strand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know how you'd even. That's crazy because when I've killed birds with like over 11-inch beard, you can see it's grinding away. You could see like how like the rub marks on.
Because isn't like an 11-inch beard that's a
really big bird.
really big
Yeah,
bird.
and then you look at the spur length. That's pretty much it's a good determiner on how old that turkey is.
What do you look at, like an inch?
An inch is a good bird.
Good bird.
That's a 3-year-old bird or so.
Okay.
Anything higher, you're getting your 4-year-old bird.
Okay.
Inch and a half is a huge bird.
Do you know like the typical lifespan of a turkey?
I don't. I've looked it up. I think it's like 5 or 6 maybe.
Okay, so not very long for.
No.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but I think it is only like handful of years.
Oh.
But I mean, you're getting into like predator territory too and stuff.
Oh, they're dealing with a lot of.
Yeah. Right.
Mhm.
I've been calling in. I've called in birds before, and a fox has run up on me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and you're like, what the,
They're hungry too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like coyotes and stuff. You'll hear people like calling in. You're sitting there yelping, and all of a sudden a coyote comes running through, and you're like, what the? And I've seen videos of like, animals attacking decoys.
Does that turn into a coyote hunt then at that point?
I think so. Yeah. Actually, I was down in Spooner a handful of years ago. I was hunting this field, and this tom was coming to me, and a coyote comes running right through, scared the hell out of that tom, gone. And I just stood, and I was like waiting, like I was like, oh, he's like 80 yards away,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pepper him. All I'm gonna do is just a couple of BBs into him, but I didn't do it.
Yeah, that's good. You held off.
Yeah.
Oh man, this has been a fun one.
Yeah.
I've learned so much. Like, you definitely put your time in. Well,
Yeah.
it shows because
Try to.
my mind is just gonna explode. From
We
what I've
gotta
learned.
go back to the drawing board and like do a lot more research and
We have to
practice.
reassess what we're gonna do
Yeah.
for this.
Not just grab the
This
camera
year.
and a bow and try to go.
That's we're all like, I don't know. We're gonna go and try and knock down a bird with a camera and
You can. Yeah. I mean, yeah, people do it. Obviously every year with 50,000 kills.
yeah,
People go out there and just start yelping or something. Like just a box call.
yeah.
It's probably the easiest. Is just a box call. It's just
That's all. That's all I have for a call. And,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even good with that. And that's pretty easy. So
Yeah.
that's where like
it's really easy.
talking. Like I was curious. Like, do you sit at home for hours on end, like just annoying everyone you know by just practicing calls like over the years?
I
or-
have.
yeah.
Dog just hates it.
Yeah.
You got a short commute too, so it's not like you hop in the car and just
Right.
practice on them. Because I do that for elk.
Yeah.
I have a 50-minute commute. I practice in the car.
Yeah.
Oh,
If
I
I
had
am
the wife
driving
going
around.
nuts last year before elk hunting, and I was just ripping the bugle all the time.
I always wonder what people think when I'm driving by when I just have a bugle tube and I'm like, because it's what I do. You
Yeah.
know?
Who the
I don't care.
Can't practice at home. I got a kid and the wife yelling at me
That's
all
a
the
weird
time.
horn that guy has.
Why is this
Get
guy
that
honking
installed.
at me?
It's bugling at me? What the hell?
What is going on?
I'll
I
get
would-
some turkey calls and I'll start practicing in the car for
Yeah,
sure.
that's what I do is just yelping in the car and stuff because you don't want to bother a lot of people,
Yeah.
and then just playing around with how your mouth like reacts to that call, like like the tongue pressure too.
Yep.
More tongue pressure, like higher yelp and stuff, and I don't know, just playing around with that because different sounds, like I was talking about, different sounds gets a reaction out of the turkey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man, I'm gonna have to do some serious practicing.
Oh yeah, me too.
Man, this has been a fun one.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. I'm glad you came on. This has been sweet.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah, let's go out turkey hunting.
Yeah, we got to get
Oh,
you
yeah.
out there to show us
Yeah.
Show us
that
how
would
it's
be-
done.
That'd be awesome.
get us on some birds for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, get it videotaped. That'd
Yeah.
be sweet.
We'll just hold a camera and watch you army crawl around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I love it.
We got to get one mounted on his hat. You're just
Yeah.
gonna see just grass
Actually,
strands.
point it up this time. Though.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think honestly calling in a turkey for somebody else and having them kill it is probably way more rewarding than you killing one yourself. In my personal preference, like
Yeah.
I love that, or like getting somebody their first turkey. That's awesome. That's like netting a monster fish for somebody.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, you're part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love doing that.
That's cool.
That's my favorite. Yeah, anybody that wants to go out, I always am willing to take off work to go calling the bird. I love doing it.
Good to know. You're probably gonna get some phone calls from us. And
Yeah.
probably some other people listening.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Even if they just got
Yeah.
questions, they can
Right.
reach out to you. And
Yeah.
hell yeah. Well, very cool, man. My mind's gonna explode with all this info.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. Though.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
It's
good
been
good
awesome.
luck this spring. I know you didn't
Yeah.
get the tag you wanted, but you got some other big plans, so
Yeah.
Mhm.
very cool.
Yeah. Hopefully get a bird there.
Yeah.
So that'd be sweet.
Tennessee would be sweet.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on.
All right, boys.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you next time.